1. In the 90s, I worked as a weekend night manager and auditor for a major chain. We were located on the last stop off the parkway from the airport before you reached a major city. We had contracts with several area clubs and arenas, so frequently had bands as guests. We were also a popular destination for businessmen from out of town. We were always 100% sold out by the time I clocked in. Those of you who work nights know the sort of wild that happens. But things were different back then. There was no cell phone for gaming and entertainment. Most of my entertainment was had with the single security guard. He would do his rounds and report on any crazy he witnessed. My job, audit aside, was pretty hands-off for the most part. I did have to check in the occasional guest, usually the bands. Here are a few tales from the wild 90s. Motley Crue. Someone had called and cancelled their reservation. Their reservation was under the code name the promoter used. It was never spoken aloud. The cancellation had to come through professional channels. They get there. They're tired and pretty rude. It's 4 a.m. One of them spots my cigarette sitting on the side table next to the sofa, asks if he can have one. I tell him sure. Next thing I know, the entire band is helping themselves to my cigs. Okay, fine. I'm trying to find them a room to sleep in. They didn't care if it was out of order or not, due to TV not working, etc. Found them a room. Get a call about 10 minutes after they go up. Apparently there were used feminine hygiene products plastered on the walls. Find them another out-of-order room. 20 minutes go by, and it's quiet. I really need a cig at that point. Come to find out they stole them. The GM. The GM was quite the character. Apparently he didn't get along with his wife. His shift ended at 4 p.m., yet he was always in the bar when I arrived at 11 p.m. Bar closed at 2 a.m. He didn't leave until 3 a.m. I always had to drop the keys to the bar in the vault when he left. He was actually a decent guy, he just had problems. Bob. Bob was morning shift. I couldn't leave until he arrived. His shift started at 7 a.m. He didn't turn up until around 11 a.m. typically, and he always turned up drunk. Don't be a Bob. The jacuzzi suite. Never, and I mean never, use a hotel jacuzzi. We had the first jacuzzi suites available that were affordable in the area. Someone got the bright idea to use it as a toilet when they had diarrhea. This was par for the course. It was out of order 50% of the time. This was a frequent occurrence. The silver platter. We didn't have room service, but we did have conference rooms. Sometimes those guests would have their events catered. The silver service belonged to our sales department. Security goes up to do rounds, finds a covered platter in the hallway. Takes the lid off and, chef's kiss, it's poop, laying atop of a bed of lettuce and garnished with parsley. 2. Around 10 p.m. tonight, a woman came in asking our rates, saying she wanted to check online to see if it was cheaper that way. Cool. I let her know what rooms we have available plus their rates, and let her know we are completely sold out of our studio-style suites. She proceeds to hold up her phone to show me a third-party website that she's able to book a studio through. I explain that yeah, it will let her book it because it's a third-party site, but we do not have an available room of that type to put her in. I show her a list of room types we have available, and let her know she'll need to pick one of those because I have no way to edit third-party reservations. She says okay, and sits down in the lobby. She comes back up 2 minutes later saying she's booked it, and now of course she booked a studio. Now, I was at the very end of my shift, so my patience was worn very thin already. I audibly sighed at this lady and said, "You booked a studio. Like I said before, we do not have any of these rooms available, and because it's a third-party reservation, your only real option is to cancel this and book one of our available rooms, or to call third-party and see if they can change the room type." I don't know if she thought I was bluffing or what, but she's somehow shocked at this info and starts running through the usual, "Well, you guys have done it for me before," spiel. She says she doesn't want it to be cancelled, because then she won't get her money back for days. Interesting. Almost like someone gave you clear instructions on what not to do. She eventually asked for a manager, and it being after 10 p.m., of course there wasn't one on site. She then asked if we could call one, and I told her, with it being a third party, even they wouldn't be able to edit it. And honestly, ma'am, I am not going to call and wake her over this when I literally told you not to book that room type. You're going to have to contact the third party to just cancel this and book the correct room. She eventually plops herself back down in a chair and calls the third party, but apparently there wasn't much they could do either. She stormed out while on the phone with them, and a few minutes later I get a call from the third party, asking if we could waive the cancellation fee if they went ahead and cancelled. I explained the entire situation to them and said no, I would not remove the fee because I blatantly told her what would happen if she did it the way she did, and she ignored me, thinking she would somehow get her way. I left a very detailed explanation in my end-of-shift email just to make sure the night audit knew the situation, and to cover my butt if I get a complaint for being rude. By the time I left, I saw her walking back up the sidewalk towards the hotel, so big ups to the night audit guy who might have to deal with this moron. 3. Hello, world's worst night auditor here. It's about 5 a.m. and the hotel is completely sold out. The night was quiet until about an hour ago. I finished running the audit and was printing my usual reports when the phone rang. When a guest calls from their room, the room number displays on the phone. As soon as I saw the room number, a wave of dread washed over me. My PM shift, I relieved, warned me about this woman. Apparently she'd gone off on housekeeping staff and the front desk agents because she found dust in her room. I let the phone ring for just a few seconds so I could brace myself for what I thought was coming. I expected the usual bitching and moaning. Bitching and moaning would have been so much better. I pick up, put on my customer service voice, ask how I can help. All I heard on the other end was quiet, girlish giggling, like she was about to tell me a secret. Then silence. After what felt like years, long enough that I thought the phone had been disconnected, she asks for an extra towel. Of course, I say. Putting off her behavior is a bit of drunken nonsense, nothing unusual. Because God is merciful. I work with an overnight houseman who handles requests like this. So I basically never have to leave the front desk. I text him, he gives me the okay, then pops into the storage closet to grab this woman's towel. The phone rings again. It's her. I pick up, and silence. Again. Then laughter. Not giggling, laughter. Bone-chilling, haunted house laughter. I'm thinking there must be someone in the room with her, and she's the only one listed on the reservation, and I can't hear anyone else. Just her. Just laughing. Ma'am, I repeat a few times, before she finally sucks in a massive breath and asks for a wine glass. She says it so softly that I question if it's the same woman. I tell her I'll have it brought to her room, and she hangs up without another word. Over the next half hour, she does this 4 more times. Up and down my houseman goes, bringing toilet paper and hand towels and a bathrobe and slippers, one at a time. Each time she calls, I ask if there's anything else we can bring her, and each time she says no. The houseman never sees her, never hears her, but each time he goes back up, the previous item he delivered is gone. At this point, she stops calling, and just when I think we're free, the phone rings. Cue the witch cackle. "Coffee pods," she says, once whatever ritual she's performing is done. "Of course," I stammer. "I'll have them brought to your room now." No, I want to come down and get them. I'm coming down now." She hangs up. I've dealt with drunks and I've dealt with addicts. None of them have ever truly unnerved me the way this woman has. I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. It's been 20 minutes, and she still hasn't come down. Why did she? I'm just sitting here waiting for the Babadook or that girl from The Ring to come crawling out of the elevator. I don't get paid enough for this. Please send help. Or holy water. 4. So I've been dealing with a ridiculous issue at work. I work nights at a hotel, and in the mornings I've always been responsible for a portion of breakfast. Historically, I've always done the stuff that needed cooked in the oven and put out some of the dry staples. The breakfast attendant would come about 30 minutes before breakfast was due to start, and she would do the portion that needed microwaved and also put out finishing touch stuff: silverware, serving utensils, bowls, and plates. So honestly, we shared the actual labor pretty evenly, with the parts she got being the parts I found annoying and difficult. Mostly the breakfast crew had a limited English vocabulary, but I've always really tried to use translate apps and all that to talk to them anyway. So mostly I don't think they've had any issue with this. But they usually don't try to reach out in return, so maybe they all hate me and I'm just deluding myself. But that's not the issue. So a few weeks ago, they started saying that we should transition to cooking everything in the microwave, to not use the big oven, with the claim that it would be quicker and more efficient to save money. Try cooking 80 sausage links in a microwave, when the instructions call for no more than 10 in there at a time, and you can't fit more than that anyway, not to mention the egg patties are already half plastic, getting turned into rubber. I of course disagreed, and told them that from the beginning I am very against cooking meat in the microwave. The sausage may technically be fully cooked, but it's not cooked by any standard you'd apply, and the bacon they've been using lately is a complete disgrace. And I don't even like bacon. But now the former general manager said she would have it all written out and it would be super easy and blah blah. I asked her to make sure she wrote down what I was supposed to do and what the breakfast attendant was supposed to do, so I wasn't leaving them in the lurch, and she nodded and said she'd write up a whole thing. 1 week later I arrived to this poster in my inbox, and on the door. The next day the FGM quit. So I said, okay, obviously this no longer applies, and kept doing breakfast as usual. Except apparently the new general manager decided this was a great idea, and the owner was convinced this was going to save money, so breakfast attendant stopped showing up until breakfast was due to start. And I'm floundering trying to get everything done, even the stuff I don't know how to do, like microwave eggs and oatmeal. The only part I was comfortable with was the meat I had cooking in the oven. That I was good with. So, this goes on for a week or so, me doing whatever I can to get most of the breakfast stuff done before the breakfast attendant arrives, and still using the oven for the meat. I understood that they had suggested we use the microwave for it, but I didn't think that meant I couldn't do it in the oven still. No one had talked to me, or complained about the situation, or asked me to stop using the oven, until today, when we get a group text from the NGM, with owner in chat, saying that the oven was off limits and that night audit. They said night audit, but since they were just meaning me, it was pretty passive-aggressive to do this as a group text that's solely about my actions. And I said I didn't understand the purpose of the rule, and that if I wasn't allowed to cook in the oven, then the breakfast attendant was going to need to show up early to help. Since I wasn't physically, or morally, not literally, but I basically said I was constitutionally unable to cook sausage in a microwave. And they just gave me a bunch of BS about how it would save money and time, and that's the branch standard, which was FGM's favorite phrase, but it just means bare minimum we must comply with. It doesn't mean we have to do it that way. And I was trying to keep from throwing a fit like a kid and quitting my job over a microwave. And I managed pretty well, but I just got to work a bit ago and I see these posters. None of these are more than 10 feet apart. The first two are actually facing each other about 6 feet apart, and the next is on the door as you turn the corner from them. And the next is taped to my computer monitor, saying, "Night audit, please," in all caps, "back kitchen off limits. Please any breakfast cooking needs to be done in the back office kitchen. We will have to start write-ups if you are not following the rules." I know this is a lot, but I needed to vent. Do you think I can rip these down? Should I quit? I'm just not gonna make breakfast tomorrow. I'll take the write-up. But this is petty and directed at me in particular, without anyone speaking to me about the issue. These are in the employee kitchen, the place where you have to be to clock in. So these are for everyone to see, but specifically calling me out. I'm just so insane right now. Any advice, empathy, personal experience, similar? Hellfreezer's note. I don't know this for a fact, but I'm wondering if they're expecting you to cook food to be served to the public in the staff kitchen. That sounds wrong? It's not a commercial kitchen, right? So it feels like that can't be right. Also, I've had microwaved sausages. They're awful. Why would they do that to their guests? Do they not want them to come back? Is that what it is? Anyway, it's an awful thing, and I mean, ultimately, any fallout from this will come down on your bosses. You shouldn't be getting into trouble unless they try to throw you under the bus, but you do have, presumably you have it in writing that they want you to do this. You certainly have the posters. So it is ultimately their responsibility, but it's really just, it's sad, pathetic, and unfair. And how much money do they think they're saving? Literally pennies, if anything. If anything, it's just more work. Unless they're trying to fire the breakfast attendant eventually, maybe that's what their ultimate goal is. If I was a breakfast attendant, I'd be volunteering to take on a bit more work to make myself seem more useful. 5. Just this morning, a teenager who belonged to the middle school student group, 8th graders, looked like she was having trouble with the waffle maker machine. I explained to her that it's currently heating up. She doesn't have to keep rotating it, and you know what she did? She said, "I know that," with a death-like glaring face. I rolled my eyes at her and said, "Okay," with a groan, because that was my breaking point, and when I saw her drop the waffle on the side of the machine shield. I didn't help her this time, because why would I help someone who talked to me like crap earlier? Wasted my time for nothing, and also because I'm fed up with helping people who didn't really want help, for no reason, and it takes me away from others who actually need my help. Also, I don't care how tired she is, or if everyone else may be, or what her reasons are to disrespect a hotel employee who is clearly above her, is actually making money on her own, and who is simply doing her job, and that is to help everyone who looks like they're looking for something or struggling with something. I have to work early, and I'm tired too, so I can feed you jobless demons, and praying to get you out of here so I can never see you all again, and go home and get my paycheck. What do you all do with your lives? Living under your parents' roof and using their credit card? This wouldn't be the first time this happened to me, but this deserves to be called out so we're not unintentionally making people feel like crap for no reasons. I also have a feeling she's treating me this way because I think whenever underage students see a much younger employee in their 20s, or employees who happen to look younger but are actually older, it entitles them to disrespect us, however they want, as we're like their older siblings or whatever. And I don't appreciate that kind of behavior. And they think we won't do anything about it and not take it personally, even though we can because I already reported the problem to the chaperone. And no, I didn't leak who she is since I don't know her name, because he said he'll make it clear with the entire students to be respectful to all the hotel staff. Which is good too, because all the students need to be taught that anyway, not only her. And not all older employees are rude and mean, nor all younger employees are chill. Sometimes the roles are reversed, and I became so strict now in the last 3 years of working in this horrible establishment. But it had been my much older co-worker, who is 3 times my age, in her early 50s. She could have possibly treated her differently, and not have been too cold about it, but I don't know, considering her actions earlier. I wasn't going to take disrespect from her, and treated her coldly when I saw her about to dump the juice in the machine tray. I snatched it from her, telling her, "I'll dump it," and I looked back to see her making a WTF face, like she had it coming anyway. What do you mean what, and what does she expect from me? Should I keep being nice to you despite your recent attitude? Hell no. The customers ain't always right, bruh. And I don't care if you hate me after this. What'll you achieve with that? When we're just strangers parting ways in the morrow, and we'll forget who we are anyway. Don't be so offended by it. Moral of the story is treat people how you want to be treated regardless of age and status, because you may never know what they're going through or how they're actually like. Thank goodness tomorrow is the group's entire last day, so I can finally relax during the regular slow breakfast days. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Coahw, episode 159. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And please do support me on my Patreon page, which is linked in the description. $1 or more if you'd like a month is very, very helpful. Okay. No other business today, so we'll move along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is, off the top of your head, what is something you never have in your house until you need it, then you think, oh, why didn't I have that? Of course I should have that. For me, it tends to be rubber bands. I'm sure there's things in the house that might have a rubber band around them somewhere, but I don't have any. There's a little drawer with all the bits and bobs and things like drawing pins, paper clips, some weird shaped clips for I don't know what they're for, but no rubber bands. I should get some. I got this little tin recently. YouTube occasionally does these reward program things where they'll say, hey, we got these little rewards, go select a reward. And then you go to select it and it's usually out of stock so you can't get it. But it was lucky last time, and there was a couple of things I thought, oh, they're quite cute. And the thing I chose was a little tin with YouTube branded M&Ms in it, which very quickly got eaten. But I've got this cute little tin, and I'm thinking, I'm sure I'll use it for something else, but it's quite small, so what would I use it for? And I thought, oh, rubber bands. So I'll have to get a pack of rubber bands, just so I have some for when I need them next. And let me know what you think in a comment below. And before we go, let's take a look at the answer of the day from the previous video. Then I can rest my voice. It's been an acid refluxy week. It's not good times, so I can give the voice a rest after this. And this one comes from Coahw 157, and I believe it was things you didn't like when you were younger, but you found your taste buds change as you got older. And today's answer comes from Kitty Rowe. I hated coconut. It was so dry and just added an unpleasant texture with no added flavor. Turns out the coconut I hated was the dried out, should have been tossed out years ago unsweetened shredded coconut my grandmother baked with. When she passed away, I was cleaning out her house, and there in the cupboard was the unsweetened shredded coconut. It went straight into a garbage bag. No one shall ever have to suffer eating that tasteless, stringy, dry cardboard ever again. Now, as an adult, I bake with sweetened coconut flakes, a lot, and I have a very lovely recipe for a coconut cake that gets requested often for birthdays and special occasions. I'll take 5, thank you. My birthday isn't till next year, but I will take 5 of those cakes. I am very fond of coconut. Coconut and lemon, has anyone ever combined those? It's not a flavor combination I hear of often, but a coconut lemon cake. Oh, a coconut cake with a lemon curd as a filling. I'm making myself hungry. I need to stop that. Thank you very much for your answer, Kitty Rowe. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.